I call this meeting to order. Good morning, everyone, online and in person. It is so good to see you. I am Kate Orr, and I am your president this year. I am so excited. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to welcome some guests. First off, it looks like we have one guest in person and one guest on Zoom. So in person, Larry brought a guest. Larry, will you please introduce your guest?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and most of all to my guest, Jeremy Mixon. He's in the back of our room here. Jeremy, give a wave. We're going to bring him up to the lectern in a little bit after the meeting, perhaps, and let him share his thoughts about our meeting. Jeremy's been a friend. This is the second time to a Toastmasters meeting. The other time was at Tom's Diner pre-COVID, and Jeremy is a disc jockey extraordinaire and a good friend. So welcome.
Welcome, Jeremy. Bravo. And our guest, Daniel. Daniel, how did you find us today? Since you're on Zoom, can you introduce yourself unless someone brought Daniel?
I did.
Oh, Margot, can you introduce Daniel for us
Sure.
today?
I'd like you to meet the president of Congregation Chavra, Daniel Mink. And you and he have a lot in common, Kate. He was a teacher as well. He's now retired and wants to learn about Zoom. Correct, Dan?
That is absolutely correct.
Is absolutely correct. And look at him in his headset. He is ready to go. He can learn from Mark, our Zoom master and headset master. So if you have any questions, please ask any of the members on Zoom, or I'm sure Margot can answer all of your questions. I will welcome who we have is in the room. We have Larry and Mary and Len, Carol, Eric, Jackie, Mike Florio, Nancy Ferry, Steve, Jill, Tracy, Beth, Sylvia, Marty Johnston, Joe, Dave Channon. Did anyone else squeak in and not sign in? And on Zoom, we have Mark Campos and Margot, Dr. Gerald Stevens, and we have our guest, Daniel. Did anyone else slip in also on Zoom that I missed? All right. We are going to have an excellent meeting. We will start with the pledge, and then our inspiration will be from Eric. Eric on standby, and stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think I did that backwards again. Inspiration, come on up. Sometimes the inspiration is first and then we do the pledge. Come on up, Eric Schneider. Sorry.
That's all right. We're all waking up still. We're good. Good morning. Good to see all you guys. It's great to be back in person this morning. This is from Vince Lombardi. Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can. So good morning, everybody, and I'll turn things over to Larry as our Toastmaster. Oh, I'm going off script too today.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Eric, our Vice President of Public Relations, incoming president. We have a lot going on today. I'm so excited. I just wanted to make an announcement, a couple of quick announcements. Thank you, officers, for not meeting yesterday. We will meet instead on Zoom this coming Wednesday, 7 p.m. for the officer team. Thank you to all of you who have bought tickets for our dinner next Saturday, folks. It's already 10 days away. And so I know some of you still want tickets for the dinner. It's $43. We have, I think, 22 reserved and we guarantee 30. So we definitely need some more folks to be coming. But I know some of you out there haven't reached me or we're going to soon. I need to tell them the total on Saturday. So please, or Monday. So please get me that. Remember the deadline. The other deadline is for this, the $99 for registration. If you're interested in going to the conference at the end of April in Rochester, remember the price goes up in April up to $125. So it's $99 for the rest of this month. If you're coming out, dues are due. Most of you have paid. Thank you very much. Talk to Beth, our treasurer, if you have questions about that. I want to say a big shout out to, thank you to Marty, who's not our division director. He's amazing and is the division director in Rochester. And they had an amazing contest in Irondequoit last night. And Nancy Ferry did a fabulous job as the test speaker. We had a great time. It was fabulous. I think they had 70 people. It was a big contest, so twice the size of ours. Great job. I now will finally hand it back over to Larry McKenzie, our Toastmaster of the day. Bravo, Larry.
Thank you, Kate. When Kate said, "My name is Kate Orr," and I thought she was going to say another name, but I know, bad joke. We want to welcome everyone this morning, and my topic of the day was hats, caps, and more things. Why did I pick hats and caps? Well, if you were here last week, I did a small 5 to 7 minute speech on caps and hats and what they mean to me. Well, caps and hats have been around for like 5,000 years. Did everybody know that? Yeah, the first hat recorded was somewhere around 3000 BC. And it came through some pictures and things that they had found. And there are many types of caps. I'm going to just I can't remember them all, so I'm going to tell you what I found. There are baseball caps, bucket hats, fedoras, beach hats, field caps, which are the military type caps, berets, gambler hats. Ooh, gambler hats. They look like a cowboy hat. Homburg hats. I'll get into that later. Boater hats, newsboy hats, flat caps, which I love those type of hats. I wear a lot of those. Bohos. There's a bowler cap. There's an outback cap, safari caps, trucker caps, Panama caps. There's a hat that's called the pith hat. What? Yes, then there's top hats, cowboy hats, Stetsons, graduation caps, which are also known as mortarboard caps. There's a sou'wester. I'm very familiar with that. Sou'westers are what the fishermen wear. Yes, the fishermen, those are called sou'westers. And if you get a bad storm, that's called a nor'wester, or a nor'easter. Hard hats, wear on the construction sites. Crash helmets, those are the type that the bicycles or motorcycles wear. We also have beanie caps, sombreros, bobby hats, visor caps, pillbox hats, cocktail hats, trapper hats, chef hats, and cheesehead hats. Yes? Now, like I said, every hat has a story and a meaning to it. The reason I wear this hat here is, one is I am and still am a Green Bay Packer fan. And I had a good friend of mine who lives out in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He's also a disc jockey. I met him many, many years ago. And this hat is about almost 30 years old, 25, 30 years old. When I first came out with cheese hats, I said, I need one of those. He's from Milwaukee. After the convention, about 2 weeks later in the mail, I got this package, hence an official cheese hat. So that's my story on that. I have more hats that I'll get into later. If you did wear a hat today, I appreciate you doing so. And maybe if you get called on to do something, just give a 30-second or a 10-second blurb on why you're wearing that hat. Now let's get into our roll holders for today. Are we ready? Here we go. Zoom master out there is, we have Mark that's recording our meeting and helping out, and Len is over here running our in-person meeting today. Give them a nice round of applause. A lot of work goes into that. First of all, what I'd like to do is introduce our WAG master of the day, and that is Nancy Ferry. Nancy's been waiting over here in the wings for about 5 minutes because I've been jibber jabbering. There's a word that we can use. And she will be coming up and telling us what her role is today as the WAG master.
Toastmaster, thank you. I don't have very many hats. This is about my only hat that I have. I think I have a kayak hat. Is that on the list? Okay. Mine is a papillon. I somehow end up collecting papillons as rescues. And I have one currently that's a rescue. And she is nuts. If I take her for a walk and I'm wearing a hat, it would be gone because she's pulling me right around the block. Our WAG master is what I am going to be today. WAG stands for the word. A is for Oz, ums, ers, and other filler words. And G is for grammarian. As WAG master, I have picked a word today, chapeau, which is French for hat. You can also use it as a congratulations, as a hats off to you, as chapeau or chapeau bas. Those are old fashioned terms that we don't hear very often. My parents lived in New Hampshire and there was a lot of Canadian, Quebec, French Quebec people that they would always meet each other. So they just learned French when they were young. Wasn't on my bucket list. I did take it for a year, didn't do well, but I remember a few words. I will be listening for ahs, ums, ers, and I will be reporting those after speech, after when I'm called upon. Well, I'm not gonna tell you when to put me in there, Larry. Please use the word of the day. And I will also be listening for grammar that is maybe ingenious, exciting. And then sometimes we use things in an improper way, and I will just have my ears tuned for that. Not too tuned because I will try to be kind, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Nancy. One of the things that if you are the Toastmaster that you can take advantage of is when your word master or WAG master is standing off to the side, get all your ums, ands, and ers in before she comes up because she probably hasn't counted them while she's waiting. So I think never mind. We will go on. Our quote master of the day, Tracy Farrell. Tracy has a quote. And by the way, I have a new chapeau on.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As any good quote starts with, a man walks into a bar. He sits down next to one of his friends, and then they start talking about his many jobs and how they span many different professions. And he's thought about it for a second, and he simply said, well, it's easier to wear many chapeaus than it is to grow new heads. And from our George Carlin, personally, I would never want to be a member of any group where you either have to wear a hat or you can't wear a hat. George Carlin.
Thank you, Tracy. A lot of hats are distinguishable when someone wears them. Obviously, this is one of them. Everyone knows that the Easter Bunny wears this, correct? No? Oh, yeah, very close. Our next job holder of the day is our jester, who's going to allow us to laugh a little before we begin today. Joseph Budnick. Joseph Budnick, give him a round of applause. Here he comes. Joe is our jester. So get ready. If you haven't went to the bathroom, hold it for a second.
Thank you, Larry. What did the hat say to the coat rack? No. So what did the hat say to the coat rack? You hang around here often? Why did the hat give good advice? Because it had a head start. Moans and groans. What do you call a hat that's been dropped into the mud? Capsized. And finally, why was the hat feeling sophisticated? It was atop the latest trends. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Never disappointing. See, I told you, hold it, because you never know. I have a new hat on. This one is, what's that? Was Eric responsible for those jokes? Wait a minute. Joe takes full responsibility. We have a new hat, a new chapeau, and this one, it says Aruba on it. It was from my trip to Aruba, and they claim that Aruba is the happiest place on earth, second to AM Lockport Toastmasters. Our next job holder, welcome, please. Wow, look at this. I have right here our timer. You're going to be our timer today. I had to minimize the size of the print here. And with my young eyes, it's a little tough to see. Carol Ann is going to be our timer. She's going to tell you exactly what her job is today. And welcome, Carol.
Today, I will be timing 3 items. The table topics, which is 1:30 to 2 minutes with a 15-second buffer. And green at 1:30, yellow 1:45, and red at 2 minutes. Speeches usually are 5 to 7 minutes, where the green will be at 5, yellow 6, and red at 7 with a 30-second buffer. And the evaluators, 2 to 3 minutes, 30-second buffer, green at 2, yellow 2:30, and red at 3. And I would like to mention a hat, actually a cap, that I wore for many, many years as a nurse. Now that isn't a necessary part of the uniform. And sometimes it is very, even though everyone in a hospital has to wear a name tag, it is a little confusing to know which ones are the nurses.
Thank you, Carol. As we say, everything is timed in Toastmasters, and Carol will be the keeper of the clock today. A new chapeau. And my new chapeau, this one, Dave, you'll love this one. It's made entirely out of old coffee bean bags. It was made in New Zealand, and the funding for these hats goes to help those farmers that are the independents and things that are raising and growing beans for coffee. So this is my story on this. Our next job holder, and she jumped as soon as I no more than asked for help, and Beth jumped at it and said, I will take care of that. She will be our quiz master today to find out how well we do what, Beth. And Beth, welcome.
I will be coming up with questions to ask you during the meeting to see if you are listening carefully. My chapeau is really the only type of hat I wear. I always said I really look like I'm wearing my big sister's hat if I try to wear a hat. And my granddaughter didn't believe me. So I tried on a hat. She stepped back. She looked at me. Long pause. Said, well, do I look good in a hat? I have to admit, Nana, no, you don't.
In case you could not read what it said on Beth's hat, it says Niagara Celtic. And that is September 14th and 15th this year. Mark it on your calendars if you've not done so. You're welcome. Now, this is the hat I had on, which I didn't have a chance to change because I'm on the wrong side, but exit stage right for 30. Okay. The next hat I have on, really quickly, and you can see it has a couple letters on the top. It says Desert Cliffs Fitness Spa, and it's quite dirty. And on the back, it says take a hike. This is from when I was out in Utah, and it became my work hat. So every time I'm outside around the yard, I wear this hat because it reminded me of hard work, continue to do so, and you move forward and it keeps a positive attitude with you. So this is my positive attitude hat. With our next job, it is a wonderful thing that we're going to do right now because I'm looking for my general evaluator, which is Jill. Jill will be evaluating our evaluators and also our meeting today and my role. Welcome, Jill.
Thank you. I didn't wait in the wings because I wasn't sure you were going to call me. That would have been a ding, but since he did, I can't ding him for that. Larry explained my job. I will report back at the end of the meeting. And I have all kinds of hats at home. And I go out to work in the garden and I realize I should have put a hat on. But I'm out in what we call the back 40, but it's really our back 3. And I don't feel like walking back to the house to get the hat. So I don't get sunburns. Yeah, Katie thinks I get sunburns. I'm very fair skinned. Yes, I'm blonde. I should get sunburns. But the fact that I am outside from March until I can't be, I tend to not get sunburns. So I will see everybody at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Jill. The job of the Toastmasters to make the general evaluator's job easy. That's why I prefaced by giving a little bit of what she was going to be doing. Not only that, when I looked back and I saw Jill looking at me and I looked down at my notes, I said, oh, general evaluator. Thanks for the reminder. The next part of our meeting is extremely important. It's something that we call impromptu speaking, otherwise known as table topics. And we have one of our Toastmasters who will be offering questions to our attendees, maybe somebody online, you never know. But I told her I would give a little bit of help at the beginning. If you're called on for table topics, remember the word of the day, chapeau. Must use the word of the day. You also must speak for at least a minute and a half. That's 90 seconds. Could be the shortest or longest 90 seconds of your life, but you can do this. And also stay within the times. Remember, you'll see green, yellow, and red. Green means you've reached your time. Yellow means you have 15 seconds. When you see the red, zip it because you've got less than 15 seconds because once you saw the red, you got probably about 10 seconds left. So with that, I will invite, this is her 25th time she's done. Oh, I'm mistaken. It's actually her first time doing table topics. So give her a wonderful round of applause as we welcome Mary to do our table topics today. You got this.
Is it? Okay, so I have a question for Steve. I was told to pick on you. What is your favorite hat and why? Take his hand.
What was the question?
What is your favorite hat and why? And Eric told me to pick on you.
Well, I'll get you for this. Our car is just wait right over there. I wear many hats. One Jill already mentioned, a gardening hat for obvious reasons. If I don't, I pay for it because unlike her, I do burn. Even though I'm outside pretty much the same time span she is, from as soon as we get out there till as soon as the weather says, you're not going to come out here anymore. Right now, I'm wearing my astronomer's hat, and I'm not sure exactly what kind of a hat an astronomer wears. But that's what we're wrapped up in right now with the big eclipse coming up. And if you don't know about that, you must be living in a cave because it's all over everywhere. I also wear a Lions Club hat. I'm the current president of the Lions Club. Now, many people know me on Halloween as the Count. The Count wears a special hat. I have a top hat, which is a wonderful long chapeau that I put on. And I have a collection of them for that reason that I wear for different occasions, which is handy because every time we do a play down to Margot's, well, what hat do I need for this one? Pull out another one. I have all colors. I have nice bright ones for New Year's. I have some green ones for St. Patrick's Day. I have several nice top hats for the Count. And most people don't even know why. There's only a brief scene in the 32 Lugosi version of Dracula where he actually wears a top hat. And I saw that and I like that. So that started my fascination with top hats. I don't know if I look good in it or not. I don't care. I like it. I have many different hats I wear, but I see that I don't have to keep talking, so I thank you for bringing me up here for this wonderful round of embarrassment. Thank you.
And it's all Eric's fault. Jeremy. Do you prefer beanies or caps? And use the word of the day.
Well, I wasn't expecting this to happen. I have many chapeaus. Do I prefer beanies or caps? That's a really interesting question because I don't wear a beanie and I don't have one, but I think I would wear one if I had one. So would I prefer a cap? Not really. Starting to lose it, so maybe I should start wearing one. I'm not sure. Beanies are nice. My kids wear beanies. I think it's a trendy thing, but that's all right. My cap, I like to wear caps, baseball caps. I like to wear a fedora. I like to wear, what is that cap you're wearing there, Larry? A newsie. I have a couple of those. I didn't really realize they had names for them. I'm learning a lot today. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. So caps, I think I'm gonna have to go with caps today. Caps is a fun thing to wear. Keeps me shaded on a hot sunny day. Keeps me warm on a cold wintry day. So therefore, I enjoy my caps. Caps are fun. Caps are creative. Caps speak to your personality and who you are, and it gives you a person a little style. Gives you a little, I don't know, what is that called when you stand up nice and tall and you feel confident about swag? That's a good word to use. Gives you a little bit of swag in your step and style. I don't know. We're just talking about caps here, right? A chapeau. I have one of those too, actually. I keep that one in my basement hidden from the kids because if they get a hold of my chapeau, I got to chase them all around the house. It's really embarrassing. But anyways, my name is Jeremy. Thank you for having me and putting me on the spot. I really appreciate it.
Michael,
Morning, Mary.
why do you like hats?
Well, those who know me well know that I have bins and bins and bins of hats that I like to wear. But what you may not know is many years ago, I actually won an award for a presentation called The Many Hats a Farmer Wears. And my latest project is to turn that into a book. The book is now completely written and I'm working with an illustrator. Now, what kind of hats does a farmer wear? Well, as the book starts out, have you ever thought about what a farmer does each day to bring the food you eat on its way? From growing the crop to feeding the cow or driving the tractor pulling a plow. There are many tasks that need to be done to get local foods to everyone. I even include some foreign caps, not a chapeau, but a sombrero. And as I go through all the different poems in this book, you learn all the different things that farmers do. So as you go on your way, hopefully I will get this written, done. And someday, if I'm ever Toastmaster again, that may be my theme, is the many hats a farmer wears. In addition to this farmer cap that I have that has a tractor on it, and no, we don't have any John Deere, I've got a winter hat. I use an accountant's visor, and we use many other farm hats that go on our way. I do talk about repairing equipment, but my favorite poem is the one I wrote about a construction hat. Because what's the most important thing a farmer builds is friendships with their neighbors. So everybody understands what we do. So those are the hats that I wear as a farmer. And I thank you for this opportunity, Mary. Enjoy your day.
Should I say back to Larry? Larry is doing it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Mary did an awesome job. Didn't she? Give her a nice round of applause. Now, typically at the end of our table topics, we call for a word master's report. So I am going to ask right now, our WAG master, could we have a word master's report?
Absolutely. Steve, you used chapeau once. Jeremy, 3 times. You used it when you first got up here to get it out of the way so you wouldn't forget, and then you were prompted to use it again, and then you just wound up with another one. Thank you. And Margot used it once. All 3 of our contestants qualified in that category. Mr. Toastmaster.
Next, we will ask Carol Ann, our timer today, how did our speakers do in table topics?
All of our speakers qualified for time today. Steve at 1:43, Jeremy at 1:43, Margot at 1:38.
Thank you, Carol. What I'd ask you all to do right now, if you are in person, you should have a ballot form, which is what we use at every one of our meetings. And if you are online, you will see that it just popped up. It says table topics, Steve, Jeremy, or Margot. Please vote for one of them. Somebody in the room will be coming around collecting ours here, which will be Eric, and online, they'll take care of that. What I'd like to do right now is this hat here is, I was asked, it's a newsie. And what's special about it? Well, a lot of my hats I like to buy for certain reasons, and this one is a Harris tweed. What's so important about a Harris tweed? Is it a real Harris tweed or is it not a real Harris tweed? A real Harris tweed is actually hand woven on the, where is it? Where's it hand woven? Anybody know? No, it's hand woven and it's from Ireland, and it's hand woven, and it says here on it, hand woven in the outer Hebrides. And in order for it to be an official Harris tweed, that's where it has to come from. And it's something, this is a hat that's special to me because we made a journey back in 2019 to Nova Scotia. It was one of my last visits that I made. I have one more in my life, I think I'll be making there. And I went to, it was around this time, Easter week. And I went because my mom's birthday was that week. So I went up to visit my mom and dad. They are buried in the cemetery up behind the church, up on the hill, overlooking the ocean. We went there, and this was the hat that I wore the whole trip. And it is a very special hat just for that reason, number one. And so every time I wear it, it's a good memory. And that's what I believe hats are. Hats are memories. Next, we have our speaking portion of our meeting. We have 3 speakers today. One of the things that I would like to do is encourage, if you are a speaker this week, next week, the week after, please go to our AM Lockport Toastmaster meeting role site. Not just confirm what your speech is, but also help us out and put in what your speech title will be and what path you are working on within the pathways. And that will also help. And there's also a spot there where you can put your introduction if you'd like the Toastmaster or someone to introduce you before you do your speech, a little bit about that. So I encourage you to please do that. So it'll help not only the Toastmaster, but whoever your evaluator is also. So today we have our first speaker, but before we introduce our first speaker, we're going to introduce the evaluator. Evaluating our first speaker today will be Sylvia Baptiste. And Sylvia, will you tell us who you will be evaluating? And then if you have the title, you may introduce them. If not, I will do so.
Love the hat. I love your chateau, Larry. That hat reminds me of a story of my grandfather who lived to be 98, who would fall asleep on his front porch with the sun beating down on him in Niagara Falls and Ferry Avenue and 19th Street when it was nice. And he would sleep for hours on the front porch. And then my dad took it from him, and when he passed away, he inherited it, I should say. And he wore it for many, many years. And when my dad passed away 10 years ago, my youngest son said, I want the hat. So that hat is sitting in his bedroom downstairs for him to take when he finds a permanent home. But this morning, I am going to evaluate Mike Florio. He is working in effective coaching in the pathways, level 3. His speech, Mrs. Timer, is 5 to 7 minutes. And Mike's title of his speech is In an Instant. Mike Florio.
Madam Timer, before we get started, I just wanted to go over this hat. This is my Buffalo Sabres hat, which I call the demonic goat hat. Because it looks like the demonic goat, and it was went out one year. And I think maybe the Sabres might be cursed because they haven't been in the playoffs in what, 20 years, I think. So I wore this in honor of them. Hopefully they'll get there one of these days. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. I'm a golf nut. People know me as a golf nut. I love to play golf. I play a lot of golf. And last year, 2023, was a great year for me for golf. I played over 50 rounds of golf last year. I won the club championship in my division, in my C division. We won the two-man scramble. So we had a great year last year. And there are other events that I go to, and one of them is the Western New York charity outing. And I go there with Len. And we golf every year. We've golfed, what, 5 years in that, Len, I think, at least? Yeah. But we have a great time. It's a charity event. There's good food. There's drinks, great prizes. It's really one of the highlights of the year for me. Last year we went and we were playing pretty good and the weather was perfect. But again, I never judge the day by the weather, and I shouldn't have that day. You see, we were almost finished, right? We had 4 holes to go and we were 4 under par. We were playing pretty good. And all I could think about was that maybe that steak dinner, and maybe winning the door prize. I won the door prize one year. It was a bike. And we were posing, the 4 of us, for our photo. And this photo was taken between the 9th and the 18th green. And there were about 20 people there. So we took our photo, and next thing you know, the telephone rang in the golf cart, my cell phone. I picked it up, I set it down, and next thing you know, there was a flash of light in my head. And I went down like a ton of bricks. Len. That's me. Hold on. There it is. There I am in all my glory. I got hit by a golf ball that day. Smack right in the head. Now you see in the foreground there, the ball. Well, that's Len holding my bloody golf ball right there. It hit me in the head. There was blood all over the place. Nobody yelled for. Nobody said, look out. Oh my God. All I did was down to the ground. And that was the end of my golf for that day. So there I stood. Everybody was attending to me. They were all really great there. And I had to wait for the ambulance. So I waited for the ambulance. The ambulance arrived. We go in and the guy said, well, you've got one of 2 options. You definitely have to get stitches. He said, either you come with me, we go to the local hospital, or we release you and you go home, or you go to an emergency room. So I said, how about a chopper? I always want to do a chopper. He goes, no, you're not getting a chopper. No, those are the 2 options. I go, okay, all right, that's fine. So I decided I did not want to leave my truck there in East Aurora, and Len followed me all the way home so that I didn't end up in a ditch somewhere. Sure enough, I go into the urgent care in Lockport, and the doctor there said, yep, you're going to need stitches, but we're going to give you staples instead. I go, staples in my head? I go, is it going to hurt? She goes, no, I did a 6-year-old girl yesterday. She was fine. She didn't cry or anything. No Novocaine. So I go, all right, 6-year-old girl, I can handle this. So she takes my head with a staple gun And she proceeds to put what I thought were 3 staples in my head. She goes, yeah, I got them both in. I go, what do you mean? It felt like 3. And she goes, oh, the first one didn't go in. And I'm telling you, it hurt. 6-year-old or not, it was painful. So that was the end of my day. I didn't get a steak dinner, no trophy. The only hardware I had was in my head. But, my wife came and got me, and she goes, oh, well, at least they hit you in the head, I mean, you got the rock head. Not too much damage there. So that was it for me that day. I went home, had some Advil, took a shower, and took a nice long nap. But I still considered myself lucky, right? I mean, it could have been worse. And in an instant, things can change. We were having a great time that day. And that's what life's all about. You just got to power through it, really, in my mind. So next year, I'm prepared for next year. You see, my smart aleck kids, and I say smart aleck, my smart aleck kids, they bought me for my birthday this hat. Now this hat I'll be wearing, and those bowlers are not going to get through this thing. This is my protection next year at the bowler golfer outing, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you very much.
Now that's a hat. My new chapeau that I'm going to be wearing right now, this is the one I wore this past weekend. It's also known as the Slancha hat. Slancha means health, good health, wishing somebody well. And this weekend, we had the West End Hoolie. I survived, made it till 9 o'clock. And that was the end of that. I won't go into it. When somebody came up and said, do you like Jameson? I don't remember. Speaker number 2 is coming up next, but our evaluator will be introducing that speaker. This is Mr. Marty Johnson. Marty is also a DTM, and we're going to invite him. He's got a lot of titles. He's the DTM. He's also area Division C, which is the Rochester area. Marty, good friend, come on up and introduce.
Thank you, Toastmaster Larry. Welcome, guests. This morning, I have the privilege to evaluate Jackie Kenny. She's working on level 3 in the motivational strategies pathway. The purpose is for Jackie to practice the skills needed to connect with an unfamiliar audience. And a note to me says she will be practicing the skills needed to connect with an unfamiliar audience, and to do so, she presents a topic that is new or unfamiliar to the club members. Please help me welcome Jackie Kenny. The title is It's Never Too Late. Jackie Kenny.
Good morning, everyone. Hats have been a big part of my life, for sure. I first noticed my future husband when he was standing on stage in our high school, singing a song as a punishment for something he'd done, I don't know what. And he was wearing a newsie. He always had a hat on. So I still have a big collection of them at home. And hats are part of my story this morning. The year we turned 50, my mother turned 80. So we decided that that was worthy of a big celebration. Off we went to Dublin, Ireland to spend a little time in the country of our roots. All of us had some Irish in our background. My mother was a Sullivan before she was married, so definitely Irish. We had a wonderful, wonderful time wandering around Ireland. We rented a car and just kind of did our own thing. So we saw lots and enjoyed all of it. But one of my favorite things was when my mom was sitting in a cafe talking to the manager of the cafe, because she talked to everybody. And the manager of the cafe was talking to her about the fact that we weren't going to be able to kiss the Blarney Stone on this trip. There was flooding in that part of Ireland and, nobody could go there. But after she spent a little time with my mom, she told her that my mom didn't need to kiss the Blarney Stone. She was already full of lots of Blarney and could talk to anybody. We had, a shopping experience. And I convinced her to buy this hat. She was having a little trouble navigating the monetary system. But she tried the chapeau on and it really suited her. So I encouraged her to spend the money for it. And I've been enjoying it since she's been gone. And my son's taking it over because it suits him very well too. Many hats mean a lot of things. And obviously, because this was my mom's and because it marked our wonderful trip to Ireland, it means a lot to me. As Mike said, hats have meanings, and I've enjoyed wearing this one for as long as I've been wearing it. But I did my own shopping as well. So I have another chapeau to keep my head warm in the winter. And again, tweed and wool are wonderful fabrics from Ireland. There are sheep everywhere you go. That was the complaint of one of my friends who also had a trip to Ireland. If I see one more sheep, she just wasn't happy. I don't know. We enjoyed the sheep. We enjoyed crossing the little rickety bridge that was made of rope and sticks and didn't look like it was going to hold anybody up. I think everybody needs to have those kinds of adventures in their life where you challenge yourself to do things that maybe are a little out of your comfort zone or perhaps very far out of your comfort zone, like the Carrick Reed Bridge. You can learn things about yourself and learn things about the people you're spending time with. You can collect things like hats. We have all of these. We have Newsies. We even have a Sherlock Holmes deerstalker. That's been borrowed a number of times for Halloween costumes. There's always something around the house that you can turn into a flight of fancy. And collecting hats is one way to do that. That trip to Ireland was very special for my mom and very special for all of us. We've been back and been to other places as well. Have an adventure. Go out there and challenge yourself and enjoy life. Please do it for yourself and do it for the people around you who will enjoy the stories you have to tell them. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mom. Jackie is known as our mom, yes. Next hat, before we introduce our next evaluator, this is known as a flat hat, flat cap. And this one has some special meaning to me because of the fact that we took a trip a few years ago to Florida for to see my grandson play college ball. And while we were there, we took a little trip to Disney Village, which was a fun outing. And there is an Irish restaurant pub in that area. And they had this hat there. It's called it was the Raglan hat. And it was very cool because it was from the Book of Kells, which is kind of interesting. So this was my remembrance of that trip. As we say, there she's coming now. Yes, many hats have many meanings. And this is my trip to Florida. But without further ado, our next evaluator, who will be introducing our third speaker today, please welcome Kate or Kate.
I'm not chasing you away. I'm just on deck, ready to go. I will point out for our folks in the room, the coffee has been ready for quite a while. Please have some. We ran out last week, so I made extra. There's a lot over there. Okay, let's get right to Les. And I have his title so I can introduce him. We're good with that. Fantastic. Les, a distinguished Toastmaster on Zoom today, is speaking in the Presentation Mastery Path, Level 2 Project Effective Body Language. His objectives are to reach us with effective body language that can be more challenging in the Zoom world. So please welcome me. 5 to 7 minutes, Madam Timer. Thank you very much. And please welcome our amazing speaker, Les Robinson, How Body Language Helps Your Presentations. Les Robinson.
Thank you. How body language helps your presentation. Well, due to some technical issues with my left knee, I had this all set up to stand, had the video done, spent very much time to really give the full effect of the body language. But if I stand with my knee, you're going to see a fallen Toastmaster on the ground, and I will be not in a good position. So I apologize for that up front, so it's not going to have the whole effect. Basically, what your body language does is builds a communication with you and your group. Once this makes a neural pathway, you are able to effectively be a better communicator. Once you are a better communicator, you then get your point across. Now, prior to Toastmasters, Dave Licata and Charlie Deacon said I should join, because when I would do presentations, and I had this really good, I can't do it, is I would be like discoing all over the room. When people would get done with my presentations, they would be seasick. They didn't understand what I was talking about, but they all walked out with a headache. So that's one of the important things I learned as a Toastmaster, was not to move around. One of the first things I do when I do a speech, I use my hand movement in and I use my hand movement out. And this helps to develop your neural pathways so people will understand what you want to do. One of the important things is, number one, is you want to stand straight. Now, when you stand straight, you show poise, you show that you're here to command the room and you are in charge. You're also your stance, okay? You want your stance to be even, very evenly stand, because if you go one side or the other, so they want to get this picture. Also, what you want is them to feel comfortable and relaxed. You do not want them to be uptight. You want them to understand that they're in a relaxed atmosphere. Everything is nicely balanced and it's a win-win. Movement is very important. You want to float across, and I've been doing presentations for over 20 years. I can literally float across the room from side to side, and it all falls into one evening movement, which I was going to show you, but I can't. So that's a very important thing, is your eye contact. Is you want to be able to flow across the room as you look at people. You do not want to stare at people, but you want to make the eye contact with everybody. The most I've ever spoken in front of was 62 people. And when I did it with 62 people, I did it in sections. So you made eye contact, but if you actually tried to make eye contact with 62 people, it would be weird. So I did it in sections. When I have my small classes of 10 to 15 people, I wave across the room over the first 10 minutes as I make the eye contact very slowly and very easy. And also want your facial expressions to be relaxed, smile. It's a win-win. If you don't have that nice, relaxed feeling on your face, people will be put off. They will not like it, and you will not get your point across. Now, very important is items to avoid. is too much body language. Okay. You don't want to move around like you're at the disco. People will get seasick. And from 20 years ago, I think I got people sick at my seminars. Number two, you don't want to wave back and forth because that will also affect people. And tapping the fingers, I had a little thing set up for this, but tapping your fingers and also is holding the podium and the lector. Okay, very simple, very easy. When you hold the podium and the lector, you're like being tense. Now, are you supposed to marry the podium or the lector? I hold it very gently, but I don't look like I'm ready to grab it. Me and the podium must go someplace. That's what becomes everything. Also, as you want to avoid looking at your facial expressions, looking like this, crazy, scared, all of these things in your presentation come together. You want a nice, evenly flow. And very important is your body language. When you look at people, now I learned this about 15 years ago because I think I gave a speech on my adventures to Lilydale with the psychic person I dated for a little bit. But I did learn one important presentation skill is when the mediums would do their thing at the stump, they would take their hand and they would look and say, may I come to you? And they would say yes. And then they would do their little spiel and then they would say, thank you. I do not do mediumship. I cannot talk to the dead. I want you to know that. But what I did learn from Lilydale is when I would pick someone from the seminar, I would put my hand out, I would look to them, and I would ask if I could come to them, and they would say yes. And I found out that made a connection. And then when I got done, I came back and I said, thank you. And that's very important. Also, you don't want to do is do the eye contact where you pick the item in the back of the room and you look at the back of the room the entire time. That's not good. Or you get the person in the room that has this very interesting whatever, and you stare at them for the whole 2 hours. Not good. Those are very important things to do. Also, when you are streaming your presentation, okay, in this day and age, back in the day, if you videotaped, you told people, but when you stream, tell them you're streaming, and people will not think twice of that, because that's a very important thing, is people must understand that you're there to stream. And when you explain to people, you go, we're here to stream, and you put your hands out, and they think it is a great thing. So you're making everyone happy and exciting. So the important thing is your body language needs to make the connection. Once you make the connection, you get your presentation. At the end of the day, I know that I've done a good presentation. I make more sales and get more referrals, make more book sales, and have more friends. So I want to thank everybody today, and I hope you enjoyed my speech.
Thank you, Les. If you will look in front of you, if you have it, please, before we do this though, I'm going to get a timer's report, but check to make sure you have your ballots because we will be voting on who you thought gave the best speech today, either speaker number 1, speaker number 2, or speaker number 3. And what about our timer's report, Carol?
All our speakers have qualified. Mike 611, Jackie 532, and Les 602.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Carol. All 3 speakers have qualified. If you please mark your ballots for either of our speakers, would be speaker number 1, Michael Florio, speaker number 2, Jackie Kenny, or speaker number 3, Les Robinson. As we are marking our ballots, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about this morning with our hats was the American ball cap. I have one here. Now, it is a New York Yankees ball cap. I have probably, you can moo or boo, but I probably have about 20 or more different ones from the, from the All-Star games. They have a special hat wherever the home team is. They have it in their colors, but it'll come with your logo on it for your team. I have one from Baltimore. I have one from Seattle. I have a few of the other ones from the different All-Star games. This one here in particular, something about ball caps. One of the things that they were developed not just because people needed to wear a hat, and you do when you're on the field playing ball, but they were made for a specific reason. The visor was to help for the sun, and they do have inside to help because it's warm days out there to keep their heads also cool. And it was something that was made to distinguish their teams, and each team had their own colors, they had their own logos, and you knew that if somebody had a Yankees hat on, they were a Yankee fan, hopefully, or they just somebody gave them the hat. Well, my very first Yankee game that I went to was in 1961. Yes, 1961. My dad took me to a game in Cleveland, Ohio, and it was on a bus trip with a group of other gentlemen and their sons. It was a father-son thing. Well, 1961, if any of you are baseball fans, was a great year for baseball for the Yankees. That was the year that Roger Maris hit 61 home runs. Also, Mickey Mantle played for the team, Tommy Tresh, a lot of great players. I had an opportunity to see them at the time. It was a wonderful experience, but what did I remember the most about the game? Spending time with my dad, number one. Number two, they had great hot dogs. If you've ever been to Cleveland, they have great hot dogs. Yes. But anyway, the Yankees. This hat was given to me last year, and this is kind of a special Yankee hat because the lady that gave this to me, I play bocce, and it's out in Akron. The gentleman that I replaced on the one team passed away, and his wife still plays on the team, and I took his spot. After he passed away last summer, she came to the camp and she said, I want you to have this hat because I used to wear my Yankees hat all the time. She said, my husband would be honored if you would keep this hat and I want you to have it. And so that's the significance of this Yankee hat. Out of all my Yankee hats, this is one of my special ones. So with that, I'm going to introduce now our evaluators. And our evaluators are going to evaluate the speeches that we had today. Our very first evaluator, I lost all of my notes and everything. Somebody took them. What's that? Sure, that's okay. Sylvia will be our first evaluator. I just wanted to see who she was evaluating though. Okay. Oh, Sylvia will be evaluating Mike Florio. Guess what? Old age hits in. I found my notes here. Sylvia, please come to the lectern.
Thank you. And thank you, Mike. What a great personal speech. I mean, that is the hardest evaluation to do is a personal speech. I learned that with the contest the last 2 months. Everybody did a personal speech and how do you evaluate somebody's feelings or what happened to them in the past? But you had very good, I thought, enough gestures here. I didn't want big gestures. You had enough. You brought us in. You did similar, stayed in your space. I would have liked a little more movement, and I understand with the mic. So we could have used a handless mic. Good eye gestures. I mean, contact. You had worked the room every which way. And that was good. And you put a little bit of voice vocal in there. You kind of went down a little bit to get our attention and it kept us going and very good humor. You and your family are very humorous. I love the kids at the end. But to challenge yourself, I hope you were listening to last speech because as I'm sitting there, I'm saying, he took my evaluation. It's a small thing, and I know you could do it. And I don't know if you thought the camera was a little low because you kept on looking over your glasses. So I'd like to see you stand up more straight and not look over the glasses. But the one time you did, and I could see why you might have done it, is there was a glare. So maybe the lighting, maybe we could move this a little bit over for the lighting. But if you brought all those good things, keep them with a little bit of the straightness. I just yelled at my husband this morning. I said, you guys stand up straighter. And the little bit of movement, handless, less notes. I think this would be a contest worthy speech and a humorous speech. I loved it. Thank you.
Yes, give away the lectern. Our next evaluator, please welcome Marty Johnson. Marty will be evaluating mom.
Thank you, Larry. Larry, I'm glad to see that you took that cheese head off because I noticed that there was a mouse starting to peck at it. So you be careful. Fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. Good morning, especially Jackie. My privilege to give Jackie some pointers on her speech. Jackie, you excelled at eye contact. There you are. And you have a wonderful chapeau on this morning. I enjoy, it's a beautiful hat. I enjoy seeing you in that hat. You look very good in it. You have a wonderful storytelling ability. You told us about the wonderful trip that you and your mother took to Dublin, Ireland. You painted a wonderful picture of that. Speaking of the wonderful picture, a couple things that I heard you say that you could possibly improve on is exaggerating that voice that that woman that you were with said, the complainer about if I see another sheep. Perhaps you could say, if I see another darn sheep, I'm going to throw my chapeau at it or something like that. It's another way to connect with your audience, perhaps by using some more movement or gestures that way. And as far as body movement goes, you had some good movement up here and you were connecting with your audience and eye contact, but to perhaps draw the audience in and connect with the audience more. Perhaps, again, when you said that the Blarney Stone exhibit was closed because of flooding in the area, perhaps you could say, and I'm glad we didn't have to climb in through that tunnel because I've heard you have to climb through this tunnel and get upside down to kiss the Blarney Stone. Perhaps you could exaggerate a little bit to connect a little more. Excuse me. Those would be a couple things to work on. You started to tug at my heartstrings. I don't know about anyone else, but when you said that that hat had special meaning, I was waiting for something and I was hoping that you'd carry on with that point, and you did a little bit, but I wanted to hear more about that. You were talking, perhaps you could say what the special memory was. You started to talk about it. I was waiting for something else and I didn't get it. I was waiting for that special meaning to talk more about that. And perhaps you could ask the audience a question. I know one of your main points at the end was about challenging ourselves to get out of our comfort zone. Perhaps you could say, ask one question from the audience, limit one question, say, and respond to that question. Say, is there something that's you've had a challenge with in your life? And then perhaps just try to answer that question for them. Another way to draw the audience in. But overall, I think you did an excellent job. I gave you high marks and you did well. You're a great storyteller, and perhaps you could use your storytelling ability to challenge yourself to mentor one of our newest members, Lilybeth. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster, Larry.
Thank you, Marty. Our third evaluator this morning will be Kate Orr, and Kate will be evaluating Mr. Les Robinson. Please welcome Kate to the lectern.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster of the day, and thank you especially, Les. You gave our honored guests a wonderful speech this morning. All three speakers were fabulous, and you rounded it out, Mr. Distinguished Toastmaster. What did you do well? The tools in your toolbox. I like that you started with a disclaimer. That was helpful for us to understand the limitation today, and I hope you feel better ASAP. You're well prepared. You used strong language, gave us visuals. I mean, we felt like we were at the disco and seasick. That definitely hit home for us. I wasn't there for that, but I can imagine. You had great audio today and your headset was fantastic. Thanks for the laughs. You sprinkled it with humor. I challenge you. I have 2 easy fixes. Okay, so I'm going to pull the microphone out and step up front and talk right to you, Les. Remember, everybody who's here in the room, we look at the camera. It is so hard because we want to make eye contact with everyone we see down below, but here you are. Okay, Les, I have 2 quick fixes. for you. Right now, one you may be able to do immediately. So you have some space above your head. Look at like what I have. I'm like in the middle, or even if I was at the lectern, can you tilt your camera slightly down? Bam, there we go. Bravo. What do you think, guys? What do you think here in the room? Yay, there's an applause in the room. So that makes a good difference right off the bat. The other second suggestion I have is also with your background. It's bright in there, and everyone in here was on Zoom for a while, so we all understand it's a challenge with the bright window behind because it can make you kind of washed out. It seems darker than earlier. I think it must have been sunnier 15 minutes ago when you were speaking because it was very vivid white, and it's a challenge. One suggestion, if you're going to stay in that room because it's comfortable, it's a good space, start using backgrounds. Margot has one right now, and others who do a great job of that you've seen. Larry McKenzie when he's on Zoom, David Jones, Eric does a great job of that. Some are very effective at putting in a Zoom background, and you can download Zoom Toastmasters background from the Toastmasters International website, and they're professional looking, or you can pick something of your own that has bookshelves or vases or something that covers up that brightness. It still can be a bit bright, but the idea would be that it kind of conceals that window. I think that you always show us a good speech. I would also challenge, this is going to be a suggestion for everybody. I'll wrap this up with, you had said that you entered the project onto our website. It wasn't saved. You usually do. So I think because you usually do that in advance, this time maybe it didn't save, double check it. This is a suggestion for everybody. Even if you think you saved it, maybe there was a glitch on the website, you can pick your path, put your title, put the time, then I can download the evaluation form, and it wasn't on there, but all of us have forgotten to save it. So we'll give you the benefit of the doubt that it was a tech glitch. Just double check it. Thank you so much, Les. I can't wait to hear you again. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. All right, we heard from our three evaluators. Right now, what we'd like to do is hear from our timer. How did our evaluators do with time today? Carol Ann will be giving us that report. Get your ballot sheets ready because we'll be voting on best evaluator momentarily.
All our evaluators qualified: Sylvia 214, Marty 309, and Kate 311. And one thing I wanted to mention, I spoke of being a nurse, and the cap was the part of our attire until recently. And I don't know if everyone knows that each nursing school has their own specific cap. I went to Mount St. Mary's. Ours was kind of plain, and when you're an RN, you get a little, we had a little black trim. And if anyone ever noticed, nurses who are graduates of Niagara University have a purple band. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. You may vote for any of our three evaluators, and the three evaluators one more time. It'll pop up on screen for those of you that are in the Zoom world. Before we continue with our general evaluator next, and then we'll be calling for reports, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was hats. There's two things. I tried to find different societies that actually have a hat that you're mandatory to wear. There's only one that's actually recognized as a hat society. Anybody know what that is? The Red Hat Society. It was actually started for a group of ladies to show that they were, I guess you would say, upper class in one respect, over 50 years old. They've changed the rules. Now you can join if you're under 50. The only thing is you can't wear a red hat. So why become a member of the Red Hat Society if you can't wear a red hat? Well, if you're under 50, you get to wear pink. And then when you turn 50, that whole month when you're turning 50, you get to convert back and forth. Who would have known? One last thing. One last thing I'm going to let you know is there's a hat. Hats are important. Hats sell for a lot of money. Some of them. Napoleon's hat. Napoleon's hat sold for $2.4 million. He had another hat that sold for $1.43 million. Unbelievable. And then in modern day, Lady Gaga had a hat that she wore. It was called the French style. It was called the Frosté hat. She wore at one of the events, and it was all these glittery diamonds and what have you on it. Sold for $1.43 million at auction. Who'd have thought? Our general evaluator, Jill, come on down.
Thank you so much, Larry. First off, I'm going to do a shameless plug. Eclipse glasses, $2 a pair. No, cash only. Venmo, I'm not that advanced, so no, cash only. Okay. This was a fun meeting. Of course, our meetings always are fun here. But what a fun theme that Larry came up with. Not only did he have all kinds of examples of hats and explained his own thoughts about the different hats, he had history. He had the styles. He had a wonderful agenda with quite a few. He had person-to-personal stories. He had other stories about hats. It just kept going all the way through. And then he had wonderful introductions for the job placeholders when he brought us up to begin with. And throughout the meeting, explanation of the meeting procedures. So Larry, well, you're a disc jockey. That's just, that's just your talent. So on to the evaluators. Sylvia was very well prepared. Yes, she's looking at me like, huh? But you were. You knew what Mike was going to be doing. You explained it well. And when you were up here congratulating him on his target ability, I thought his new hat was going to have a target on it. But that's just me. You explained very well your critiques, your suggestions for improvement, and you gave the examples. You showed what he could do. Marty, you had specific suggestions throughout your evaluation of Jackie, but it seems like you were stumbling a little bit through it. So it wasn't your normal good evaluation. Maybe Jackie's just too good and it's too hard to evaluate somebody sometimes. Poor Marty. Oh, okay. Well, there's the reasoning. He had his division contest last night and he was tired. Katie, you had fantastic suggestions with demonstrations for specific ideas. You went around, you talked about looking through the camera. The one thing you talked about, the Zoom backgrounds. They can be great to use. But at one point, my computer updated and I can't do Zoom backgrounds anymore. I don't know if anybody else has that problem. I go, they're there. No, they're there. It won't light up. It won't highlight. So I can't do them anymore. So I don't, I can't show my personality in my Zoom backgrounds. Okay. So let's see, meeting's getting close to time here. So I think, Larry, do you want to do the reports? Okay.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Jill. We'll help you with the backgrounds. We're going to change up our reports really quick here because what we're going to do is we're going to have a little fun with our reports and ask our quiz master to come up first because I know she's extremely excited about this. And we're going to be asking Beth to come up and give her quiz of the day. See how well we listened to the meeting or during the meeting.
Whoa, yes. All right. So were you listening? How did Larry get his cheese hat? From a friend in the mail. I would like to hear more about this, Jill. Why doesn't Jill get sunburned? I'm out in March too, but I get sunburned. Why doesn't she get sunburned? David said she made a deal with the devil for those people online. So she is out all the time. But I agree, Steve, I would be sunburned out all the time without sunscreen. What kind of hat is Steve wearing now? Sylvia got that astronomer's hat. Very good. What kind of book did Margot write? The Many Hats of Farming. Very good. Where is Harris tweed made? Hebrides Islands. Yes. What did Mike need to fix his head injury? And now a hard hat to make sure it doesn't happen again. Yes. And I understand that story. We golfed one time. We're not golfers, but my husband and I took my mother-in-law golfing one time. And we're not good golfers. So he didn't really worry about going to get his ball over here because his mother was going to hit the ball. It wasn't going to go over here. Well, at least he could react quick enough and put his arm up so the golf ball hit his arm, not his head. Yes. She also decided to go after her ball in the pond that day. I don't know. Yes, she was feisty. Yes. Why didn't Jackie's mom need to kiss the Blarney Stone? She had enough Blarney. Thank you very much, everyone.
This is the 50-50 money. I already saw it. Okay. I had to help her out because she helped me. It's right there. Yep. We're not ready for it yet, though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I already, yeah. We're not ready yet. Wagmaster report. We're going to ask our Wagmaster. I've lost it.
If I were my dog, I would be wagging my tail. Not really. Well, and there were a few, mostly so's. I'm looking for your nose. I only heard one. Grammar. I heard some very descriptive language, tug at the heartstrings, capsized, positive attitude hat, zip it, kiss the Blarney Stone, swag, discoing, float across the room, demonic goat hat. Couldn't read it for a minute. A flood of fancy, a golf nut. Only hardware I had was in my head. Little rickety bridge and slancha. A few shoulda, gonna, beaten, okay, gotta, things, sitting, kinda, and cuz. There's one thing that we do a lot is we say but, and using, it's not wrong, but using the word and to connect something is much more helpful. I know we watch our ands when they're filler words. If I say, I don't wear hats very often, but I like this one, it negates the hat in the first place. If I say, and I like this one, it puts a no positive spin on it. So maybe practicing that. And the word of the day, Larry, 1 for 5, Tracy, 1, Beth, 1, Kate, 1, Sylvia, 1, Jackie, 1, Marty, 2.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Let me see, are there any other reports that I may have missed? I don't believe so, but what we'd like to do now is before we announce our winners of our evaluator and table topics and speaker, Jeremy, we want to thank you for attending our meeting today. Yeah, would you mind coming up for just a second? This is like the old Dean Martin roasts where we put you up here and everybody gets to roast you and no. Jeremy, thank you for coming to our meeting. And do you want to let everybody know how you enjoyed the meeting today?
Thank you for the invite.
Oh, you're welcome.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Thanks for putting me on the spot and making me talk. What I do? I do as little as possible in life. I'm a disc jockey. Actually, Larry's taken me under his wing a couple different times in life, and I've had the opportunity to learn from him, but I started doing that back in 2008, and I just officially went on my own this past year. So I'm kind of excited what the future has. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Jeremy has also helped me the last few years at the Hydrocephalus Association. When we have our walk, he has become the voice of our walk, so I can just zip it and do the opening ceremonies and things, and he takes care of that for me. So I appreciate you, Jeremy, for that. Thank you. Time to announce somebody had a hand up. Yes. Yeah, momentarily. We'll close and then we'll do the meetings. We did have a guest online. Is our guest still here? Had to leave. Okay.
Yeah, Dan had to
let's
leave,
go. Our
but he
very
appreciated
first
the help.
table topic speaker, our winner, Jeremy, was voted our table topic speaker. And we have something special for you. This has been on Funk and Wagnall's porch since noon yesterday. You have your own best table topics ribbon. And we want to thank you for speaking today. Appreciate you. Next, we have our best evaluator. Guess who? Or maybe Kate, or maybe Kate. Congratulations. You're gonna, okay. Next, we have our best speaker of the day. Drum roll, please. Well, that was halfway good. Okay. Our best speaker of the day, who has to wear his hard hat in the future, Mike Florio. Congratulations, Mike. Whoop, there you go. And you're going to draw a winner from we have a 50-50 that we do every week, and the other half goes towards our, if you have another ticket, write your name on the back of that. Mike's going to announce the winner.
The lucky winner is.
I can't see it either. 378 2507.
2507.
Nope, I'm 497.
Mom won. Good job.
Beth won.
All right.
The keeper of the money.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Take care.
Remember to write your name on the back of your other half of your ticket that goes into our second chance. And then we draw a winner every 6 months, and you get free dues if your name comes up in there. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Kate, and she'll be closing our meeting.
Bravo. Great meeting, Larry. I'm going to adjourn so we can stop the recording, but please stick around. We have a few things to share that are important. Meeting adjourned. Stop the recording.